He is known for his passion for his people. He is the architect of Black economic excellence. His mission from day one was to see his people shine brighter than a diamond and eventually become truly free. Every community in the world needs a leader like him. Although the mission he embarked on as a young man was always going to be a tough one, he has relentlessly continued the fight for over 60 years. Many men would waver in the face of disappointment, hardship, and misfortune. Yet this man has withstood the test of time and shown remarkable resolve. This is the rise of Dr. Claud Anderson. Growing up in North Carolina, USA, which was then known as the segregated South, most definitely shaped his upbringing and mindset. During that time, Black America was experiencing racial segregation, known as the Jim Crow era. Black people were not allowed to enter public spaces reserved for white people only. Black schools were underfunded. Public lynching was rampant, amongst other violence in the communities. But out of this struggle came a movement, one that shaped Anderson's mission to build Black economic power. Dr. Anderson earned his doctorate from Wayne State University in Detroit, Michigan, in the area of education and policy. This would lead him onto his career later down the line in government. Many people would play a part in shaping his later moves, such as the late former U.S. President Jimmy Carter, who positioned Anderson as Assistant Secretary of Commerce, and prior to that, he served as State Coordinator of Education for Florida under Governor Reuben Askew. But despite this extensive experience in senior positions of government, education, and policy, his pathway and journey was naturally forming to what would be his greatest and most finest work Black America has ever seen. However, the question is, did Dr. Anderson know just how extreme the challenge and purpose God had laid out for him would be? More importantly, would he have known that his mission would have taken him down a pathway of resistance, not just from opposition, but also from his own people? That would be the true test. Dr. Anderson's formative years under the guise of United States government facilitated many opportunities for him to encourage and assist many Black businesses with funding and corporate guidance in a time where this was essentially unheard of. Stewarding over 30 businesses in funding and shaping policy that allowed many Black-owned business to thrive. He was also instrumental in shaping the policy for affirmative action, which was originally made to benefit Black Americans, however later went in a more DEI trajectory and was not the original intention of the program. Post his era of working in the government, the charismatic Anderson began laying the foundations for what today is called the Harvest Institute, an independent Black think tank in the United States, which is still running to this day. The shift toward economic empowerment came at a crucial time in Black America during the late 1980s and 1990s, mainly because Black America was faced with high levels of incarceration for Black males, a crack cocaine epidemic, and the evident destruction of the Black family. Many scholars during this era, including Amos Wilson and Dr. Anderson, emerged due to the need for an alternative solution to these major problems. The downside was that was seeing how ineffective government policy was with regards to creating economic change for his people. He saw no other solution other than to change focus and began developing the PowerNomics economic plan. Dr. Anderson then dedicated his life to teaching black wealth building, self-sufficiency, and group economics. Dr. Anderson would teach in churches where many black Americans at the time would attend to merge the gospel of Christ and black economics together as one. Although his message was positive, many esteemed and notarized black wealthy Americans would not support his cause or charitable non-profit think tank, as there was resistance to Dr. Anderson's philosophies in black America. He had to then compete with entertainers, athletes, notoriety for the attention of black America's hearts and minds, which has and is still a mammoth task due to their reach and influence of black people around the globe. He continued his teachings with over 5 books published and released DVDs of his seminar series for PowerNomics, providing clear instructions on how to conduct group economics. Yet to much avail, the penetration in the USA wasn't as impactful as it should have been. How could it be so that a man who has worked with the US president, helped fund many black businesses, received the highest level of education, and who grew up in the segregated South could not be championed more so than an athlete or entertainer? How could such excellence on display be overlooked? Well, it's likely due to the fact that many black people at the peak of his career were not focused enough on the long-term effect of the root problem. Dr. Anderson had seen it all, from the highest order of things, that being the U.S. government, all the way down to the local black communities and churches. So he was and is qualified to guide his own people on such matters of economics and wealth building. To those who swear by his teachings and understand the bigger problem at hand then and is still prevalent today, will know that all of his books are designed to empower the individual reading them. They all have valid thought out and researched roadmaps and blueprints that can set the minds of black people around the world to embark upon real change for generations to come. The downsides to this overview, however, is not taking into account the amount of mental damage done on the black American population and respectfully other countries around the globe, which effectively stops the progress of a group economics and black wealth building to happen at scale. Dr. Anderson is a maverick, a legend, a top scholar whose work should not only be admired, but studied in home schools and colleges. It is with sadness to say that the great work and infrastructure he laid down in his seminars, books, and teachings have not been adapted in the volume and mass it deserves. I hope that what you take away from this anecdote and tribute is that this man has done everything he could possibly have done for 60 years to empower and uplift his people, his community, and future generations. His work and accolades will live on for the ages, and I hope and pray his visions of PowerNomics will flourish for generations